Good afternoon, everyone. Just give me a moment to share my screen as well. And all being well, I think you should see what looks like a sort of Windows desktop, let's say, but this is the Viper desktop running in a web browser. I've got my applications here and I've got most of them on the desktop. As Neil was saying, we have some test files here. So if you've been to the workshop in Wellington, some of this may be familiar. But yeah, in addition to the desktop, we also have this pop-out tab, which is for our VNC client. This is useful for maybe changing some of the settings if it's not performing well in terms of the resolution of the screen and things. But it's also a good way to get some files into and out of the environment. So here I'm on the desktop, so I could maybe drop a README file in and you'll see it has appeared there. And we are working on other ways of getting files in, but we'll come back to that at the end. I'll start with my DROID demo here. So as was mentioned, this is an identification tool, so I can drop a file in here, click start, and it will process it and has identified it with its period as well here. We can also drop a whole bunch of files in, and it will identify all of these as well. We can also do this from the command line with Fido. We have Fido installed. Here we can see that Fido has done the same identification. It's in a sort of CSV format at the end, but it's told us the period is 353 and it's a TIFF. And just close these things away. You can export the results of these as well, and using Fido in the workflow can be very useful too. So next, I'd like to demonstrate JHOVE. So we have the command line and the GUI version in here. Again, we should be able to drag and drop a file on here. And JHOVE uses modules. In this case, the module by default is chosen as ByteStream. And we can see that this is a well-formed and valid TIFF. But if I change the module here to TIFF instead, and try that again, we'll now see that this is not actually a well-formed file. And JHOVE has many modules, as you can see here, for many different files. So again, if you were doing that automated workflow or script-based, you could identify a file first and then choose which of these JHOVE modules would be most appropriate for the further processing. Tika is another useful tool that maybe not for automation, but for somebody who's working with files and has problem files. You can drop a file in here and get its metadata, but then I can also choose different ways of maybe extracting content or to view the content of the files that I might be interested in. And moving back to one of our own tools again now, we have veraPDF, which I'm sure everyone in the community is quite familiar with. But the new Arlington model checker is also available, and you can see they're very similar in how they look. I think we'll get different results for this file. This one is not PDFA compliant, but I believe if I run it here and check it here, it will tell me that it is compliant to the Arlington model. But interestingly, I have another file that Boris and his team provided for me, which I believe is the other way around. This one will be a valid PDFA, but it's not compliant to Arlington. So that's interesting. And then we can view the results of these reports in much more detail in the built-in web browser that's inside of CloudViPER. And we have some media processing tools here as well. So we have HandBrake on the desktop here. We also have, oops, FFmpeg on the command line if that's how you prefer to do things instead. But I can look for the grab a file here. I can send it to the desktop in a different format. For those of you who are not familiar with this tool, it allows you to convert video file formats from one to another without needing to use the command line, which can be a bit daunting with the amount of different options that are available. But I'll just choose one of the built-in encoders, so I can downgrade this to a much more low definition rather than high definition. And when I click start, should see that my file has appeared down here on the desktop, and it's much smaller than the original, hopefully. So I was trying to maybe compress that file. And then in keeping with the idea of these media files, we've got some tools that can also analyze those too. So we have MediaInfo here. I can drop a file in here and get some basic information about its format. Maybe if I drop this one here, I can see something else. And we also have this media conch tool as well. And I had already pre-done this before, but both of those files are in there. And this one allows you to look at policies for files. So in this case, I can see that this is not fully compliant with this policy document. And also not with this one either. So I hope that's been a bit of a good overview of the different tools that are available here. And one of the future aspirations that we are looking to release in the next version of CloudViPER is the ability to connect to your own media folders. So this media folder here, which is the one on the desktop, is a Docker volume that's been mounted into this instance, so that there are files in here for people to use. But this copy over here has actually been mounted from Google Drive using a tool. I can find my correct terminal here, which has been mounted with rclone. So using rclone on the terminal before this webinar, I have connected it to the OPF Google Drive, and those files are actually these files here. So yeah, these ones are. So if I were to run, say, the HandBrake on one of these media files in here, it would take quite a while. So ideally, if you are mounting your own drive, either on OneDrive or Google Drive are the two that I've got working fairly well at the moment. For a media file, for instance, I would probably drag it out and replace the one that's there, let it download from Google Drive before working on it. Some of the demos I did earlier for file identification, I did use the Google media, the Google folder mounted media, because it doesn't impact performance too much. But I think some tools like Apache Tika or FFmpeg for certain, that would not be ideal. The rclone tool is a command line tool that's built into the beta version of CloudViPER at the moment. So for a configuration, you would run this rclone config and then choose one of the many storage systems they've got. You can see them all here. So they've got the ability to mount quite a lot of different storage types in here. You've got Microsoft Azure for the more corporate accounts. Dropbox is the next one we're working on. So at the moment, we've got the Microsoft OneDrive, Google Drive, and Dropbox coming very soon. But if you're comfortable on the terminal, you can follow the instructions that they've got for all of their different drive types, and then you too can get your own Google Drive mounted. So I'll pass back to Georgia now. Thank you very much.